it bent.
I don't think so. I think you're great. What are you gonna do?
What is the theme from? The beginning of it is.
That's us. What are you talking about?
I know, but isn't it?
It sounds like something, right?
Yeah, ain't that a friend? It sounds like a like.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank
which
you
is
for
Golden
being a friend.
Girls.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
Hello. It sounds
You're
a little
totally
bit like that, right?
Thank you for being
a friend.
Dum,
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum bum. That's they're supposed to be in. What are they, Fort Lauderdale or something for that show? It's in
somewhere in
Brentwood.
Florida.
House is in Brentwood or Bel Air.
Oh, movie magic, television magic.
Absolutely. So welcome. Hello, everybody.
You. Hi.
We are here with Kali Londoño, who is not only a very good personal friend and colleague, also working on some projects together, and one of our best friends, and the person we talked about yesterday when we told the story about how we met. That was through you. You're the friend.
Yeah.
Everyone's always heard, it's a mutual friend story. Now you know what it is.
And I watched the episode this morning, and it's so interesting, memory recall.
Yeah. Oh, you watched us talking about it.
Yes, which is, first it's always weird hearing your name and hearing somebody talk about you.
Yeah,
That's the first uncomfortable kind of like,
Was it on your phone at least, or were
No,
you on the
I
big
watched
TV?
it on the big screen.
Oh, yep.
I know. I meant to text you a picture of me watching it because you mentioned
It was so
cool that people have been sending you pics, watching from their couch.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
It feels like it's humbling.
That's
it's really humbling.
It's fantastic.
Because some of the people, I don't let me get off track, but like some of the people, specifically the people that have sent the photos, are like, I'm surprised they're watching. So I'm even more like, wow, your house is so like.
Did you move your chair really far away? Because the chair was in a good place for you. You
I didn't move the chair, but
somebody did. You want to come back in here?
I
so
did
you,
when I went over there. Sorry.
Just for the sake of you won't have to lean in. There you go.
better.
Yeah. Can you hear yourself?
Sure. Yep.
Lean in. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, it was. I mean, neither one of us are used to being on this side of the camera of anything. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No.
I specifically did not like this side.
Well, watching it was a complete joy, and not because you talked about me. It was,
But we did.
But also,
But we did.
we live in LA.
no, but just to hear the story and the recounting and obviously you have a much more clear memory with details because now you're married and.
Well,
And that's
the
something
story's
that
been
you-
organized in our mind. You know what I mean?
And that's what you do. You're like, oh, okay, how did we meet? And remember? And I came over, and then it was rifling through my memory, and I remember how you were saying it, that I was coming back up from San Diego, and we were meant to have lunch, and it turned into like a marathon lunch. And didn't I have my bike? Like I did a century ride.
That
Yeah.
sounds.
That's what it was.
that
I did a
sounds very
century
familiar.
ride that took a lot longer than I thought. And I took a train back with my bike, and then I rode to your place. Yes.
You had your car though.
But I had
we
my
went to
bike
your
in the
brother's
car
to
or
get your car.
something.
We had to at some point go get your car to put your bike on it, to put your
Yeah.
car back in my apartment.
Holy crap!
I know it was a big technical kind of logistic kind of day.
I was at a party in Silver Lake with a bunch of burlesque dancers, so
Yes,
I don't know
yes, and
anything about what you guys.
But yeah, and everything
Having
kind
no
of
intention of
backed
meeting
up.
my future wife that night.
No, or going from Silver Lake to Marina Del Rey because that's where we were.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember asking you if my friend could come over, and we had made plans. We were going to watch something, but we also ordered like a poo-poo platter of Indian food.
Ah,
And
You're
you
being very
now we're
delicate.
getting
you
my favorite part of
hated
this.
Indian
My
food.
favorite part of the story, sure.
It was.
Yeah.
I like food, and so I ordered a lot of options.
Yes.
Especially once I knew there was someone new coming, I was like, and I had said to you, I remember asking you at some point, what does he want? And you were like, oh, just
Hang
chill.
on. I'm going to have to stop it here
yeah,
because she then texted to say, we're probably getting C&O. What would you like? And I said, everything is great. We're getting Italian, probably C&O.
Yeah.
What would you like? And I said, anything is fine. In parentheses, like in
'Cause
my
yes,
my
and
point is
you-
from
that was a favorite
C&O
restaurant of
Trattoria.
yours. Yeah.
C&O Trattoria, Marina Del Rey, fantastic restaurant. We get no money for this, but the food's spectacular and the service is great.
Garlic knots.
Oh,
Oh, it's
addictive. I used to live
Yeah.
across the street. That's the backstory on that. I used to live across the street, so we went there all the time, and we used to order from them on the television shows
Yeah.
as well. So
And I think what happened was we discovered they didn't deliver, and we were right, wasn't that?
I don't
I
remember.
don't know, but
I
yeah,
don't remember.
you were super
but
excited.
I just
I
know-
love Indian food, and so I might have even steered it because I might have even. Who knows?
your friend says everything is fine, okay?
Well, yeah, but then we heard the story yesterday of like I had another friend over to watch The Bachelor or whatever, and so we got delayed, and then we were just hanging out and drinking. So like we didn't even think about food until hours later.
I know.
So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's cold. So
Yeah, the funny thing was
I
it arrived,
better
I showed up,
microwave
the
it.
other friends left. I mean, there was so many things that happened between
I'm saying there
when
was
we
like
actually
a lot of
ate
moving mechanical parts going on that evening, and then
That was a truncated story. I mean, that evening was 10 hours long.
yeah.
Because we watched Adventures in Babysitting at 3 a.m.
yeah,
Anyway, I am happy to have been the common denominator, but you're two of my favorite people on the planet. So the fact that you ended
Oh.
up together is, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yep.
It means so
yeah.
much. Well, you know the feeling is mutual. And actually, I have a couple things jotted down here, just not that so much that we need to talk about. It's not like questions, but in some of the trial podcasts, when we were kind of figuring stuff out for ourselves and learning how to, do all this, we told the story of how we met and sort of our history. I'd love to do a little bit of like how we do the thing, how you do the thing, and then fill everybody in on the fact that we all were working on the same shit, just not together.
Yeah.
I found out later, we didn't tell that part of the story yesterday, which is that, you and I were in the same place. I don't know how many times trying to just live our lives and advance in this crazy industry. And meanwhile, had we met, who knows what would have
Who
happened.
knows?
Yeah.
Well, it's
You were probably the
Timing
conduit
is
then
everything.
too, because like so much of anything I had to do that had anything to do with that show had to go through you.
Yeah,
So
probably.
It wasn't
Probably.
even like, oh, someone's there. Once you get down to the nitty gritty out here, there's hundreds of people on the show, so like who knows? But like we actively would have interacted multiple times if it hadn't been for you being in the way, which I think is hilarious.
Hashtag rude.
I know.
Hashtag rude.
Oh wait, so wait a minute. I blocked it
I
at one
wasn't-
point. I was a blocker,
Yeah.
and then
wouldn't
I
have
was a
liked it.
conduit.
I wouldn't have
You
liked
both.
it. I didn't like him that night. I wouldn't have liked him over email. He's not chatty.
No, probably not. Probably not. I mean, you came into the production office a couple of times.
Yeah.
I know you guys met before that.
See, that's what you say. I believe you. I believe both of you. I don't remember.
Well, then it wasn't meant to be in that
Clearly.
moment.
Clearly. I just remember you bringing all your other hot friends and everyone down on set being like,
Oh,
oh,
jeez.
holy crap.
Oh, really?
I remember
Make it seems like I had like a little stable.
Nah, I don't mean it like that. I don't want to say anybody's name or anything, although it's a compliment. But you had friends that were tall and attractive and model-esque. And I remember anytime you'd go down, oh, just come visit the set, as in like walk through on our way to lunch to go to the commissary or something. And I definitely remember watching the eyes.
Oh,
the
how
eyes
funny.
follow.
Well, I had a girlfriend because I moved from New York.
Mhm.
I had like 10 days notice.
We should, okay, so Everybody Hates Chris,
Oh, sorry.
2005.
Yes.
Everybody Hates Chris
2005.
was the Chris Rock sort of his upbringing show, like his
The Wonder- his
Being
Wonder
raised in
Years.
Brooklyn. Yeah,
Yeah.
his Wonder Years, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
says his publicist at the time. Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's the Wonder Years meets. No.
It's what Chris does best. He blackens everything that is awesome.
Yeah,
He
but
does
the
that
but
with
the
movies and TV.
But the great thing about that series, though, and I think what made it so unique and special was all of it was based on his real childhood, being bused to an all-white school in
Yeah.
Brooklyn,
Yeah, all those stories.
and all those stories were happened.
Yeah. Whether we gave them to little Chris or his sister or his brother, all those things were
Yeah,
real shit.
rooted in real experiences.
Yep. Which is pretty darn cool. And I don't know how many people even know that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, but
To me, it makes the show a lot better because it shows where that guy came from.
right, and because of having those experiences as a kid, and then having those kids play out those experiences, it was, even to this day, when I run into or speak with anyone that's worked on the show, and we're still in the business,
Yeah.
there is the resounding, that was the best show I've ever worked on, ever.
Wow.
because of the family environment, and it really,
It's so nice to hear.
it felt like a really close-knit family.
Do you think it has something to do with the fact that we had so many kids on that show, that it was
Yeah,
a kid-driven
absolutely.
show? Because I feel the same way, having worked, like all of you guys, having worked on so many different television shows.
Mm-hmm.
That really was the most family-like one.
Yeah, and because as adults, we had to mind our P's and Q's. We had kids. There was a
Interesting.
responsibility when we
Interesting.
went to work. There was an accountability of the words that came out of our mouths. It wasn't I hate to say it, but, the usual kind of banter
Well, you were on a
and
comedy
incorrect
set.
things that can be said on a set.
But a
and-
household comedy set versus
Exactly.
a late night comedy special set.
Right,
Which is
right.
what I know I was used to seeing you
Oh,
on,
totally. Yeah, that's
think
what
I
we
met
all
you
were
on-
used to.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far, but the sexual harassment seminar is what comes to my mind.
Oh, please. Yeah.
That is one of
That was
my
one of the
like,
funniest-
are you
favorite
for it or
stories of
against it?
yours.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. Yeah, Chris walked into the room when everyone else was already there, and he goes, "Man, ain't nobody in here I'd even consider fucking."
Yeah, that poor person who had to lead that sexual
few
harassment
people.
thing.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
gosh.
Gray area,
Which
gray
should have been
area.
like a 20-minute little, meeting turned into a stand-up act, basically, because then all the writers got in on it. And
Either don't have writers in the room or have them do it separate or whatever.
Yeah.
But a bunch of comedy writers,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
brutal. It was
hilarity
awesome.
ensues.
Awesome. and brutal. Meanwhile,
Back at the ranch.
yeah. But so what happened? I mean, I don't. Do you remember how we actually met? I remember meeting you, but how did we become so tight? Because we were fast friends, as
We
as
were
I
fast
recall.
friends, yes. And, I probably like a handful of people, at least in my experience, that I've met where there was an immediate connection and a like-mindedness, kind of same sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think when you meet someone that mirrors some of those things, there's just that immediate connection. I think.
It works for
Yeah,
me. No, I mean,
yeah.
you were very familiar. I just don't remember if there was an incident or whatever. I just remember, I remember you had a birthday pretty early on. The offices weren't even set up or anything, and I still have pictures of it. But I remember that being like a moment where you and I had a conversation afterwards that the contents don't necessarily matter, but it was personal. It was very personal
Yeah.
about both of our relationships at the time. Oh, we should get together. Oh, I gotta go. Oh, I gotta go. The whole thing, and then and maybe that's where it started.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
I don't know, but
I don't know, but we quickly found our times and would take ourselves to executive lunches.
Oh,
our lunches in the
Friday
executive dining
room.
in the executive dining room.
With Monica.
Yeah, Monica, our server, and we
Do you remember what we would have? We would always get the same thing.
shrimp,
We'd have the shrimp salad
the shrimp salad.
with the vinaigrette and
Yep,
everything.
yep.
And well, you know what? We would split the caprese first. We would
Oh,
split the
yes, yes.
With wine, by the way.
Yeah,
This was the
I know.
executive
This was
day.
back in the day of.
Everyone around us was doing it too, but it doesn't make it right. But yeah, we would have the caprese and then that crazy shrimp salad, shrimp vinaigrette. I know. I want it right now. Right? Gross. It's awesome. All right. So
Yeah.
you guys, how did you? So you were. What's your deal?
I was part of, you worked for a celebrity. I was part of his press team, which was bi-coastal. So there was a bunch of us. But I had just started, I think, and he was going to be on Bill Maher or something on the CBS lot is where.
It was Bill Maher.
I remember
Yeah.
walking into a big
Was it
green
politically
room.
incorrect back then, or was it?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I
It wasn't
think
real
so.
time.
Television
Yeah,
City,
yeah.
And it was a Friday night, so anyone cool was like not there because who goes out on a Friday night to a talk show taping, basically. Anyway, I remember having asked
Those
my
are the
boss,
best nights, I think. Friday night audiences,
well,
Friday night shows.
"You're not
I would-
normal," and I
I know. I
wasn't
think in your
going
world, it's like,
there.
who's gonna go? Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh,
you feel
I
like you
see.
have to be the one that.
in that world. And I
Right.
remember asking my boss at the time, and like he and I had a very cantankerous relationship. He was a difficult dude too. But I remember asking, like, I wanted to go to everything. I wanted to learn everything. And he was like, if you ask me, you can probably do shit. He reminds me a lot of you. So
Wow.
Wow, there wasn't even a pause on that one.
I know.
In
I
a
don't
good
know
way,
I don't know
no,
how to
though.
feel.
I'm going to say that was in a good way because I think cantankerous, yes, but he also, if I'm not mistaken, did allow you to grow and experience as long as you said, hey, I want to go to that, or hey, I want to I want to take. If you can't do it, I'll take the lead on it. I think.
Is it showing the initiative? Is that what it is? Like by asking?
Yeah. Yay, nay.
I think that you're partly right. I think the relationship changed as I got more comfortable being that.
Well, absolutely,
front person.
because then you become a threat.
And I wasn't good at navigating that. And I think he and I had good men and women working together. Like, that's rough. And as we're seeing, like, it's a different environment out there than anyone apparently realized. And guys, women and dudes have a different understanding of what that was. Anyway, I remember specifically being like, no, I want to go and meet you because you guys were never in town. And so I was like, I want to meet them. Was it you and Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Chris
we can
was
say
doing
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
doing
Chris
the-
Rock. That's who I worked with.
Happy
and she was
birthday,
on-
yo.
Yeah,
happy
and today's his birthday.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
I posted a photo
Oh, that's
of
right.
all of us
and I just
together
said I
at the show.
texted back and forth. Anyway, yes.
But I remember walking into
Not
this
everyone else knew.
Now they know. I remember walking in this room, and it was like a room on a lot. It was not like fancy by any means. There's a ton of older people. I was 22 then. So there was a ton of older people literally walking around, and you found me somehow. Like, I must have been loud or like...
Kali found you?
Yeah, like through the crowd. Like, I must have been like, I'm really loud. Like, I must have been like, I'm looking for my client. Like, I must have been, I was 20. Who the fuck? Anyway.
When you don't know, you tend, I mean, that's normal, right? That's normal.
Boisterous,
Sure.
you know.
I'm trying to, you know what I mean? When we're all in the same place,
yeah.
we can't finish the sentence.
My old boss was as kind as he could be when he took the time to be kind about me, to me, and he was like, basically like, you're not finessed, and of course, like you, like I get angry in the moment, I get irritated, but he's right, like I grabbed glasses at this event as if it were my house. Like, you can't fucking do that. So anyway, I was probably loud. You found me. I have no idea how. But I was like, oh, you're Kali, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, hello. Like, you shielded me into a corner. Like, I was also unattractive and large then. And who knows? Like,
Oh my gosh.
Never
no.
unattractive.
No, or any of.
I liked you when you had a little meat on it. I felt in love with you when you were 40 pounds heavier than you are now. So I didn't think you were heavy. I didn't realize I was into that.
You're not. I was heavier.
Heavier.
I was
but you-
heavier then. But I was also younger, and I was out of college, and like I just didn't know how to eat.
Justification, explanation. You're good.
Anyway,
love
we
you.
hit it off on the phone before we actually even met.
Yeah.
That's where it started.
So when you guys
And I
met
have a
at this
tendency
event,
to give somebody, nicknames when they're when there's a connection.
in general, you too.
I do. Yeah, I just so she quickly became Shabati Boom to me. And then
Her
it
last name
shortened
used to be Shabbat.
Shabbat, now Ryan. And then it, got stripped down to just Boom. So, yeah.
But that meant a lot to me then. It means a lot to me now. But it meant a lot to me then professionally.
But so you had already known, you saw each other at this event. Oh, I'm Nicole, you're Kali. Oh, okay. We already know each
we'd
other.
already
Let's
met
go
like on the
figure it out.
phone, but we hadn't met
Gotcha.
in person.
Things were a lot more formal then, though. That's all I guess I
true.
mean to impart is like I had a role specifically of being proper, and the guy from New York called and was like, he saw my name on the schedule to meet you guys somewhere, and he called me, he's like, he's not gonna like you. He doesn't like publicists, and won't talk to you, and like, so.
Gotta love when somebody else gives you the fucking
right, the
pregame
heads
on
up
that
on that
shit.
one,
Like, go
but-
fuck yourself. Maybe he doesn't like
But
you.
I don't think that's, I was
You know what
gonna
I mean?
say,
That's awful.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. That's not true about him.
It's not true.
Anybody who calls up somebody, just so you know, they're not going to like you. That guy, it's
Yeah,
his
that's,
own
that's
issues.
the one
That's
who
his own
hasn't
problem.
been
Sure.
talked to and hasn't been.
Of course.
Yeah.
Trying to get in her head.
Totally.
Probably.
Because Chris isn't like that. I mean,
Not the limited amount I know. I would.
He's
I would
not,
have to
but
agree.
publicists
well,
are
here's the
annoying
thing.
in
He's
general,
he's very good at seeing through and seeing authenticity, and in our world, it's horrible to say, but there are some that take their roles a little too seriously, and there are also some that try too hard to be friends and yeah, you never had that about you. So he saw that right away. It was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I was
Does that
really
make sense?
It does. I think
Proper.
people who can see that authenticity, it's a fucking gift.
Yeah.
I think people who can see that authenticity can actually see through the bullshit too, and then can tell what the motivations are.
Well, and
So-
specifically celebrities, because
They have to talk to-
encounter a
right.
lot of
It's a
bullshit.
numbers game. It's a numbers game.
Yeah,
They can
and
navigate.
Right. It's like
They have to.
Yeah, you're not. No, the authenticity is.
So that's what I'm saying. So while she's trying whatever, I'm sure he inside saw like, oh, there's a scared little new green person who's trying her best to like make a name. You know what I mean?
Right.
He can see through. So if that was what you really were authentically, then, which is what I believe.
I wasn't. I'm an underdog. Like and I root for the underdog. Like no one expected me to last more than a month on that desk. Like, so I was gonna do.
It wasn't eat 'em
whatever I
up.
needed
It's
to
an eat 'em
do.
up atmosphere for sure. Yeah.
Working as an assistant in a publicity
Specifically that desk.
or
though.
any representation, I guess probably.
Yeah, anything I think in the business qualifies, but that desk, and there are some people to work for who are harder than others, and it's known. And I had one, and whatever, but I made it. I lasted 8 years, I think.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And even trickier too, because you also happen to work with somebody that represented mainly men
Mm-hmm.
and mainly funny men.
Very funny man.
Very funny
Some
men.
of the funniest people in the world. Sure.
And you know, and I kind of worked on the other side of that, but always in room with a lot of funny men.
Yeah, with writers and producers.
Yeah, and you
All
know,
the
I got
creatives.
the
You're always sitting with the
nickname
creatives.
2 cents because I was always trying to put my 2 cents in.
That was on the other podcast you did. That was your nickname on there. That's so funny.
yeah, kind of stuck.
That's so
That's
funny.
awesome. I didn't know that.
Yep. Old 2 cents.
That's
God,
very
I'm
funny.
so glad it makes me feel better. It's about me, I guess.
Well, it's a thing of, you know, where you are the underdog in the room, and you're like, oh, but wait, listen to me. Hey, I got something to say too, and
yeah, it's hard to
not
sit
in that high of a
those
voice because it
rooms.
would lose so much
All credibility is lost at
credibility.
that point.
By the way,
Yeah, clearly.
But it's hard to hang in those
Yeah.
rooms even. So the fact that you could, the fact that I could.
we both survived.
It says a lot.
Yeah, there's so many stories though. You know what I mean? Like how many times have you been somewhere and you're just like, oh God, I gotta come on, just have one good idea and notice me. And I remember one time being in casting with you and it was like, I genuinely thought this name was good. And I just remember Ali's response of just like, I could see it in your face. There had to be a name. So humiliated. So humiliated. It's just, you walk out of the room just like, yep, well, it's like
Yeah.
blowing an
Well,
audition.
okay,
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
blowing an audition, I would imagine. Oh, God. Those
The
moments.
things that made us stronger and tougher and wiser and
What about
more
Tom
jaded
Dreesen?
and more right now.
I literally said, what about Tom Dreesen? He'd be great.
And it was
Yeah. Well, we ended up going with like Kadeen Hardison or something. You know what I mean? It was like not the same.
not the same. Never.
Not
yeah.
at
You
all
wouldn't mention those
what
two
they were
names in
going
the same
for.
sentence.
No, not
but
what
hey.
not what the boss was thinking. You know how it is. You want to be something. You're
yeah,
just
you
not
wanna- you-
yet.
you wanna-
You're so eager.
You're so eager, but you also want to have like, you know, some input.
Yeah. Just
When you're in a creative environment and you're a creative person, but you're feeling stifled,
yeah.
then yeah, those moments will happen where you just blurt out something and yeah.
So, I mean, it's in hindsight. I'm glad I took the chance because otherwise I'd been like, he would have been perfect, and I never said anything. It's hysterical. But meanwhile, man,
It's just like throwing
gutted.
stuff on a wall. Something will stick.
Well, this story is probably 12, 15 years ago, and I'm
Yeah.
still like, oh, still cuts deep.
No.
Eh, I'm still bleeding. Still bleeding.
It's okay. It's okay. Put a Band-Aid.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now we know how we know each other. We are working on a bunch of projects now. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yes,
Or how much can we? I mean,
Yeah.
now that we should probably talk to the old publicist now and find out how much can we talk about on this?
Old public.
The former publicist, sorry.
There we go.
I don't. It's all the same.
Not the publicist of age.
If I'd-
Publicists of a certain age.
No, I mean, we sort of, we can talk about stuff without
Yeah.
too many details, right? Probably.
Yeah, I would say you should.
Oh, okay, good.
No, okay. Well, hey, then
Hey.
Who wants to buy a couple projects? No, I mean you're the producer. You take it. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I'll just come in. No, I mean, do you want to talk about that stuff or no? I think that
Well-
we should now that Mrs. Ryan says to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, here, an interesting thing, because we're talking about being creative people in our own right. And it wasn't until last year, I mean, we all knew, meaning we, the three of us, know of our creativity and know of our struggles and wanting to not necessarily be heard, but be able to see some things to fruition and not necessarily be in positions of being able to make that happen.
Yeah.
You know, and
You
but-
take a few minutes away from this business, then you are forgotten about.
yeah, ooh, out of sight,
Get
out
sick
of
for a year. Or
mind.
Fast.
Get sick for a year or two. You just kind of disappear, lick your wounds, and you come
Yep.
back, and it is different.
Call isn't returned, an email goes
It's more like
unanswered.
Who? Who are you?
Yeah,
Like, I
Relevance.
Used to. Yeah, you used
relevant
to.
is the key word, and used to is yes, the other one.
Doesn't Jerry Seinfeld go back to the set with someone and they talk to the security guard and it's the same relevance? Like, I was here every day for 15 years.
I think you're. Yeah, maybe.
Who was across the? Oh, Gary.
Oh, it was the Gary Shandling episode. Yeah, yeah, that's nice because they've
Yeah.
experienced this together.
The relevance.
And by the way,
Relevance.
nice segue because my personal project was inspired by. I mean, it's my life, etc. But the reason I decided or felt the strength to tell it is because of Gary Shandling. So I mean, this project will always be either dedicated or he's a producer on it or whatever. I mean, without him, what I consider to be a pretty neat story wouldn't be told.
Right.
So that was thank you for saying that. But yeah, irrelevance and then coming back trying to get stuff done from a different perspective. Is that what?
And relevance. Well, that, but also I think really personal stories. Speaking for myself, really, really personal stories that have felt, inspired by and passionate about, has this weird other side to it where there's this cautiousness and in fear of, I think it's so important and I think it's such a great story. What if other people don't? And or there's a kind of a secret behind it. And I know this is going like in
I kind of
very,
like it because
very
I want
weird places.
That's
But
all right. I like that you're putting out different
it'll come.
lines to explain.
Hopefully, it'll come full circle.
listening.
There's a
I'm
reason
thinking
we
more
had to be coy about this so far.
Yeah,
we had to
and-
be precious.
Yes.
But that was also the surprise when you shared with me your story, this particular story that we are developing and in turning into something.
Right.
Why it took you so long
Oh yeah.
to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like something that you have, you're keeping like right here, and it's
Oh God. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it was deeper.
Yeah.
It was for me. It was deeper because I
Gut-wrenching.
mean, this story that we're about to tell. I was just 18.
Yeah.
Just 18. My dad had just died. Just graduated high school. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. So yeah, it was just that's how long ago we're talking about. Though.
Yeah.
18 years old. 40 now, folks. I was 30. It was 20. It was the 20-year anniversary when we decided to put this project together and then start it,
Right.
as I recall.
And so we talked about it for the first time last year.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a mind blown experience.
Really?
Because oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I don't know.
well,
I mean,
because
I
for
feel
you,
that way
right.
because it was, I had such a unloading this information to you or anybody, but in this case to you, somebody I trusted. Because in the beginning, I wasn't talking to anybody. I told my wife, I told you, and like that other the director that we were working
Right,
with for a
right.
little bit. Hopefully. Yeah, it was just a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot of, I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say, I mean, should we say what the emotion was?
Well, I think it's okay to talk
Shame?
about it without
I can
giving.
say
Yeah,
shame?
shame. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a very relevant emotion to talk about these days on a lot of different levels. But yes,
for sure had a cloak of shame that nobody around me knew about, and it was invisible and nobody could see. But meanwhile, it was eating me up inside for ever 20 years. something I did. This is a story about something I did, or I mean, whatever. I don't know how much you want to talk about it.
Well,
But
did and then punish yourself for it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't
For
get
the
caught.
next 20 plus
I didn't get
years.
caught.
Right.
And so I decided that the punishment should be doled out. I guess.
Piecemeal,
on my
just
own.
year by year.
I
just
guess.
slowly.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Well,
I
let's
never
talk about it
reconciled
like this. Do you
Never.
feel like a sense of relief now?
Oh my God, yeah. It was whether the story. I mean, the story will get told, but whether it's. I don't care how it does. When it first began, I was like, oh, it's got to be this way and this way because it's me and all that. No, that's all. I've let go of all of that, and now it's a matter of like, well, I just want to tell the story because, quite frankly, I see the value in the story now, and it has really nothing to do with what the story is about. It's about, hey, your life is about decisions, and you make them every second of every day, and
Some are good, some are not so good.
for sure. And then it's dealing with that, and then dealing with decisions that you make that don't work out. I made one I wasn't proud of, so I punished myself for it forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So weird and tragic, really, because I think professionally it held me back. I think personally it held me back. I think everything worked out the way it's supposed to because
Absolutely.
I finally feel like the person with the strength and the the whatever. My light's light enough to not be hurt by whatever you all have to think about me. You know what I mean? I felt like shit for 20 years. I don't anymore. When we're face to face with the person, it may be different.
It might be a little different, but that's okay.
It's sounding awful, like I fucking
hurt
somebody,
I
or
know.
I
Like
didn't
there's
kill
a
anybody.
Body, a body in a trunk.
There's
no,
nothing
this
like
is-
that anymore. I literally went to color bars by accident when I talked. That's how nervous I was. No, it's nothing like that.
No.
But, I don't know.
And it's a story about a young man who idolized someone.
I think you're zoomed
and
in too close.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of you.
Good.
Like,
Well, maybe
Okay,
you
zoom
shouldn't have
out.
gone and gotten coffee while we were talking about the heavy shit.
No, zoom out. Zoom out.
everyone needs to zoom out about everything. Like, it's a bigger story of like. I'm so thrown off.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Can we pause? I'm on.
No, we'll just keep talking. We're fine. You're the one who stopped it. We were going. Let us know when you think of it. It's totally fine.
I just think there's so much more to the story of comedy, not you and your story. Your story is a big part of it, but whenever we talk about it and you're the producer, like, it's bigger. I need to stop talking.
I would like to hear
Yeah.
what
yeah,
you're
what your
saying
thoughts are.
here. And that's why we're talking about this, so that we can all talk about this. Are you not involved with this project anymore?
No, I'm involved. I'm just physically very uncomfortable. Can you guys talk?
Okay. There are some emotions that are rooted in it, and it sounds like a really heavy. But
Only
honestly,
because I'm sitting here. If you were just watching it on television, it doesn't have to be.
But the truth, that the root of it and how we're all connected is comedy, and it is a story that was born out of a love of comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
And a passion
Correct.
that you had
Yep.
and still have. Still have. And it's, how I give the nicknames, and mine for you was Yay for many, many years.
Yeah.
And
Still.
but I also have discovered this other side of you, and it's not a bad word. But you are like this savant.
Yeah.
In this space, and in this world that I had no idea that side of you.
Really?
And that's where
that's where
the
the
mind was
hiding. I was
blown.
hiding.
And you were hiding it. Yeah. I mean, I know you're funny, and I know that you've got great comedic timing, and you got a great sense of humor, and that you had done some stand up and
Thank you
some
for all
open
that.
mics.
Thank you for all that.
Yeah, but I didn't know this other side, and this other this young man just growing up and being completely consumed by late night television. And yeah, we're going to go in there. So late night television.
Yep. Well, I
and
mean,
the
hang
obsession.
on. No one looking at this. I have to.
I know,
assume
right? I mean, come on.
Between the mugs and microphone here, I mean,
You
there's
got it- you
clearly,
got it right here.
I grew up in the same town that David Letterman used to live in, and that's,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about here.
And then you had your own talk show in high school, and then I see these drawings and these sets and then this crazy story that is going to be told.
Yeah.
But I think, what I got really, really excited about, and I'm still excited about, is I do love the world of comedy. And one of my favorite experiences was working on the Chris Rock Show, the HBO, and it's just a different kind of animal and a different kind of beast. But in comedy also comes all these other emotions, and I think it's that space where you can explore all the dark, the light. And so for you, it was a experience, a moment, a bad decision, maybe at that time.
Yeah.
That
in hindsight, that's how I look at it. Absolutely, it
that
didn't need to be a
tortured
ruin
you.
your life moment.
No,
I did that, and it didn't ruin anything. But it was always in the back of my
your
psyche.
head. Yeah. So it's just telling that story without revealing, I don't know, too much. Nicole still seems uncomfortable.
This is the lovely part of me now. Like, I wear every emotion literally physically, so I can't avoid being uncomfortable ever.
I'm sorry you're uncomfortable, but the emotion doesn't bother me if you can express it. If you want to, there's no pressure.
No, I don't have my thoughts together because I got thrown off. So I had to pick up everything. So I'm just still regathering my thoughts.
All right.
Copy that. Well...
No, just kidding.
Anyway, we're all back together, and we're working on some great projects that we're all very, very excited about.
I just think it's way more fun than anyone.
I know, and that's why I'm saying it. Like I know, and I don't want it to be right.
It got so bogged
Dark
down.
So
and
why
dug
don't we
that.
bring it up instead of we
like
can do
I
that.
said, I need to physically recollect my thoughts. So now they're coming back, and I sound like a dick.
No,
No,
you
not
don't.
at all.
Only to
Loud.
you. Only
Not
to
at
you.
all.
This feels passionate. It feels like you know what's going on, which sometimes we don't because we're just talking
And
about
look,
stuff.
you know what? I feel as though I brought it down, and I'll take, I'll take responsibility. I am responsible for that because I started going into another space of talking about things that shame. That word, shame.
Yeah.
And shame conjures up a lot of shit. And so I recently told a story a couple of years ago that I took 20 plus years to tell.
Your book. You're talking about
My
your book.
book, yeah. And
I'm glad we're talking about it. I'm glad we're
it's
talking
like,
about
okay,
it.
well, let's lighten it up. And now comes like the fucking
This
whammy
is the
on
part,
that
though,
one.
that like when you can
Comedy's
find the
tragically
funny,
funny.
out of all of the shitty part, when you can laugh about it instead of just being like the shame part, like no, move on, like. Yeah, like you have a story that's aligned with the temperature of right now. So whatever.
So yeah, and there are those little moments, those little trigger moments. I was like, oh, shame, yeah, I know that emotion, but it is about finding the light and finding the.
To me, it's a love letter to late night, which to me is what I was a double major in college, but my communications, it was my dissertation. So to me, it's like going home to like what I found light in. Like we went back, I think, to see your family at some point, and they were like, why do you still watch it? Watch those shows. I watched 2 shows, and then Colbert and the show. And they're like, why do you still watch it? And I'm like, because it's how I get information. Like, it's how I judge the temperature of what's happening. Because people...
And the way it's disseminated.
Yeah,
It's
I know
it's
that
not
world. I know that world. I know what goes into that world. I know what a writer's room looks like. I know that the jokes they're telling are probably because they're the biggest topics of the day. Like, they're not going to make a joke that they want to be tongue-in-cheek about a small news piece. So
Right.
it helps me stay in touch with what's happening while still they find the humor in it. I don't have to do it myself.
Well, and I think that's what the art of it is finding the humor in everything.
Yeah.
Even the negative news or whatever,
Well, I find that's the easy stuff. It's almost easier. You know what I mean? Finding the comedy in the tragedy.
Yeah.
We were talking about the death at a funeral earlier. And I'm the one who's laughing at a funeral for sure. You probably are the same. I know you're the same.
Well, just even the title, Death at a Funeral. I mean, come on.
Right. No, just in general. I mean, just the
In the
fundamentals.
DSM-4, like the psychological, like what's wrong with you dictionary, it's like a major component of many psychological disorders. Is like miswire of emotion, laughing at a funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it may be just perspective also in what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Some people are looking only at the pain and everything else, and some people are looking at how outrageous this pomp and circumstance is.
And some people are looking more ultimately about how they're perceived for how they're reacting. So it hinders everything. So
Yeah.
it's
My actions are so I can be seen, whatever. They're living the wrong way.
or they're being appropriate or polite or tactful and all the things I struggle with.
Or just being uncomfortable, and sometimes in the
Yeah.
discomfort is this weird kind of what maybe some people might think is misplaced laughter or misplaced. It's like, it's okay.
Don't you find that the real moments come from the discomfort? That's what I find. Whether it's, comedy, some of my favorite comedy, and we don't just have to say Andy Kaufman. I mean, everyone does this, but a slight amount of discomfort tends to, I don't know, it shifts the energy a little bit, and then it's like you get your control back as a mic.
Well, I did 2 tours with Chris, and when we were on the road, one of the our favorite activities, we meaning the small crew that traveled, was in the smaller, not smaller markets, but more like the interior of the United States. Some of those markets.
Yeah.
The running, we would take bets on how many people were going to walk out that night.
Oh my God! Based on the content.
Based on the
Great
content.
game.
No,
That's
it was
Oh my
fantastic.
God.
Fantastic.
like
Yeah, we would have like little wagers,
That's a riot.
like in certain cities, or
a
like,
great game.
man, how many people you think are gonna walk out tonight?
That's a great game.
And it was, we were all on comms and everything. You were just like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, you're calling them out live.
That's
oh,
so
holy
great.
Well, I mean, that would imply we weren't paying attention to our jobs.
No, but I'm just saying it was
part
happening.
of your job
You know,
was
yeah.
the ambience of the room.
It
then,
was
if
actually, you're right.
smaller
Thank
groups.
you,
So you're
yes,
paying
yeah.
attention to
You get it.
in and out of.
Get it, Shabbat boom, Ryan.
They see all that shit. Like that was something I learned. I was the butt of many a joke from stage from him and other people, and I had to get used to like they see everything.
Yes,
So if you're in the room
everything.
and you don't see, and it's your job to see, go fuck yourself. They need to know.
Yeah,
So
totally.
You were doing your job, but that's a funny side gig of betting on who was walking out.
Oh, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Who was the? Who usually had it? And was it dependent on the market? Would you based on if we
it's-
go
it-
to
it was
a certain city, and
Yeah.
like, oh well, we know that
Yes.
he might not play.
There are
as well.
certain topics that we know
That's
are
what I was-
going to rub people the wrong way.
That's what I was getting at.
Is it going to rub to the point of getting up and walking out? Or, because to me, I mean, that is,
I think that's excessive.
no, people would get up and walk out.
I know that you're saying that as if it's fact. That just seems crazy to me. Like tickets.
I don't think it's so much now, and he's brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant. And Chris,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
And the tours I did with him were bigger and blacker, and never scared. And in that, it's the same thing as testing the waters and the temperature, and what to me, the thing that makes a comic just I have such awe and such respect is to be able to stand on a stage in a room full of hundreds to thousands of people and find a common thread. To find a little kernel that will either make people, it's like a couple of different reactions, like, fuck, I feel that way too, but I could never say anything,
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad he said it. Now
Yeah,
we
I'm
can
glad
talk
he
about
said
it.
it. Yeah,
Sure.
now we can talk about it. To, just completely being uncomfortable, like, I can't believe he said that or she said that. It just runs the gamut of things, but what it does is it pulls back the scab, basically.
Yep. The Band-Aid,
And
anyway.
the Band-Aid, yeah.
Like it.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of gross,
Holy.
right? Ooh, eek. The Band-Aid. That was not a good visual. And it's just really, really interesting. And I have to say, you know, I loved watching the audience. Loved watching the audience.
In general?
In general. We just went and saw him last December on his, you know,
God,
latest
yeah.
tour.
Seems like a million years ago.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But there were moments, and I'm completely, you know, tuned in and listening to what he's saying, but there were definitely several times where I just scanned the audience and I just love watching people's reactions.
We were doing the same thing for sure.
Yeah. And that's
It's kind of like watching. At some point, you kind of don't care about the presents under the tree. You know what I mean? As an adult, you get to a certain age, but you develop a love for watching other people open their presents.
right.
It's not dissimilar. You know what I mean? You get to a certain point where, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, we all make comedy now, so all you're watching is the reactions because everybody can write. Not everybody, but I mean, like the people we're talking about can write.
Yeah.
So it's neat to watch the craft, I think.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah,
think that's what
that's
we
the best
all,
part.
you know, when with the projects that we're working on, that's what it's rooted in. It's rooted in that we love that
passion.
world and love
Yeah.
that passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all the comics do too. You know what I mean? That's why all those shows. I mean, comics talk to comics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a language. It's a language, I think.
It's a part of the business that you have to really understand and love because it's dark. It gets dark. You have to know how to get out of it yourself and pull everyone else out of it with you, so that you can go to those dark places. Like Bigger and Blacker was the first time I was really introduced to him, and it was at Sony. Like it was corporate. Like it was a friend there that was like, "No, I found this guy got an early copy. Like we should watch it." I was interning. And I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. But it's not, he doesn't stay away from dark, heavy subject matter. He just does it in a different way. That's comedy. Like, you have to be able to dip your foot in there and pull it back out.
Well, I think that's what it is finding that thing to laugh about, you know, like death at a funeral, laughing at a funeral, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of difficult things to laugh at, like funerals, you brought up your book before. Do you want to talk about that? Because here's the thing: I don't not want to talk about it because I have so much respect for you for telling your story.
Oh boy.
We don't have to
No. It's good. It's good to talk about.
because you're sharing it with other people now too. I mean,
Yes.
let alone that it's out. I mean, it's out. It's published. It's
I mean,
been
it's
out for
on
a couple
Amazon.
years.
It's not like you can't.
Yeah, right. No, but I
yeah.
mean,
Well, it was funny because right before we sat down, I was saying if I were to ever go and kind of like redo the cover, I would add just 2 little words.
yeah. What would those be?
A memoir.
Because
Yeah.
the subject, the title is divisive.
The title is divisive. It is titled "The ABCs of Molesting Me," and
It's not a how-to manual. Which
Exactly.
is what it
Thank
could
you.
read like.
Could read like.
Without the a memoir. Hey, y'all,
handbook
if you want to get
to-
in this shit.
A, this is what you should
time.
do, and by Z, you will have accomplished. Oh, that was horrible to go into a Southern accent. Anyway, that was not in any way whatsoever.
I think I did hey, y'all, which was terrible. It was more of just, I don't know, Paula Dean or
Yeah,
something.
just-
Terrible.
Yeah, I should have added a memoir on
Yeah.
the cover.
Well, hindsight.
But, and we were talking about, you know, things that the shame. And I have to say, I published it 2 years ago on my 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be 52 this year. And
You look fabulous.
thank you. I wore a t-shirt in honor because I've been watching your podcast and I'm like, I don't really have any cool t-shirts like them, but I just felt like being part of the
Honestly,
t-shirt club.
both of the ones we're wearing today were sponsored by beautiful Carpe Gear. Dwight Knowlton at carpegear.com. No joke. Seriously, he sponsored all this stuff and sent us a whole bunch of swag
And
that we
it's
wear to
super
car
comfy.
events. Never had softer, more comfortable t-shirts.
Yum. Okay.
Yep.
But I
as
was
in
also- it
seize
was-
the road.
Pointed out to me yesterday that I already repeated a shirt.
You can have favorite
So
shirts.
I apologize.
By the
Well,
way, I believe there are several pictures of me in this shirt because it's like
When we
one
went
of
to
the-
Chris, you were wearing
Yeah,
it. So I
yeah.
put
It's like one of
picture
the
I
only
posted.
t-shirts I have.
I think
so
we've had 4 episodes. It was the same Hawaii shirt. It was a little much.
But it has a rainbow on it, right?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
awesome.
that's a happy
There was no
shirt.
complaints about it.
All
No
my
complaints
Hawaii
at all.
shirts have some kind of happiness visual to them.
Because Hawaii means happy. Well,
Aloha nui loa, bro. That's the best.
don't call me names.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry, brah.
It's okay, brah. Where were we? We were talking about. Oh, yes, the
Sharing
ABCs of
and-
molesting me.
Oh, right. A memoir.
A memoir. A memoir. So yes, I talked to you guys earlier this week that I'm working with an actor right now, and he.
We won't say this one because
someone-
it's current, but it's
current, yeah,
somebody
but it's
who
somebody
has
that-
been in the business a long time and somebody everyone straight up respects.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
I don't know
personally
anyone
just
who's
have
ever
such
been, oh, so and
incredible
so.
respect for this
I don't
man.
like him. It doesn't occur. It's not out there. So you're in a very good place. But speaking of,
well, he, randomly just gave me a copy of his book earlier this week, and just
so
as
it's an author, this guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead, just say it.
Just kidding.
I was going to jokingly say James Patterson. Out of the blue, just gave it to me. He's like, this is a gift. You don't have to feel compelled to read it, blah, 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 blah. When I had met with him prior to starting, I told him that I was working on a second book, which of course begs the question, oh, what's your other book about?
What's your first book? Yep.
Right. And in learning how to be more comfortable saying the title and adding a memoir to that, he knows, and his wife knows, and they've been very supportive, and they, periodically ask me, how's it going working on the other book? How's it going? And which is great,
Yeah.
which is an amazing feeling.
Just
So-
to be having somebody keeping tabs on you, like checking up on you, it almost makes you
Accountable
Yeah,
and be
it's
kind of
nice.
responsible.
It's great.
And yeah.
It's great.
And
Feed the right wolf, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right.
And I said to him, well, I thought about giving you a copy of my book, but I'm a little nervous too because of the subject matter. And he just says, he said I would be honored, and that just kind of like, that struck something. And
You had told him about the book and the title before. He just hadn't read it, right? He was already
Right.
aware.
Yes.
So is there a reality, is there a universe that exists where he was actually manifesting this? He wanted to read your book. That's what I'm getting at. He was.
Yeah,
this
I
was
mean,
a ploy to, like,
I
here,
kind
look,
of thought
here's-
about it like,
show you
here's,
mine, I'll
here's
show
my,
you yours.
yeah, kind of in a way,
Vice versa.
with the title that goes perfectly.
Sorry. Awful.
The how-tos.
Did not
I'm kidding.
even
I'm kidding. I'm
occur to me.
kidding. It was great. It
But
was
you're
a beautiful,
totally right.
beautiful faux pas, Freudian, whatever you want to phrase it as. Yeah, kind of in a way. I was thinking like, oh, he gave me his. Does that mean I have to give him mine? And I told him I was nervous about giving him because it is. It's my experience, and
it's personal.
and it's personal. It's really personal, and I'm struggling and working with the not feeling as though I have like a scarlet letter, or feeling ashamed,
Right.
no more shame about it, or feeling as though people then will see me in a different light. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, you can't worry about
That's
that.
my biggest fear.
But that was mine forever.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
Even watching you talk about it, it's like I totally get it, and I feel it for my own. Like we all have it, but like enough, man. No one cares.
I know you put I
is
put a
so-
lot more weight into it than
I
it
don't
needs to
mean
be.
that
No,
as
and I appreciate that because you're
Cavalier
absolutely
as
right.
it sounds, because it does about everyone, but you're so much more than that, and you've done so much.
Right, and it doesn't
more
define
since
you.
It's happened, and
Just to go with you and being very open and talking about your diagnosis with MS, and it doesn't define you.
Right.
This is not. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't be like, oh my god. I mean, to me, that's kind of like the worst reaction
I
or
get
response I
that's
can
the
Yeah.
get.
Most
fear
people don't
I
realize
get
You know what I
that,
mean?
though.
people
Yeah,
of, like,
exactly. Of
that's
not knowing
the-
what to say and not knowing how to talk to you, and there's that.
Someone came up to us the other day at our breakfast thing, was like, I'm glad you're talking, because like we never know what to say, whether it's someone who has or had cancer, or whether it's
Right.
someone who has any other kind of chronic whatever.
Talking about people who don't know how to address it, how to handle you, so to
Even
speak.
how to just be
Or how to
around
interact
us.
with you because of
yeah.
not knowing where you're coming from.
Sorry, handle was the wrong word. That's what I meant. How to handle themselves, like around you.
Yeah, I think people in general don't know how to be around people they don't know well.
Right.
So we're now meeting people like you and I meet people that we know on Instagram. So it's like we don't have a personal rapport with them. You
Right.
get a vibe and understanding of their vibe from like what they post.
Like,
and
I like
do
what
and
they
stuff.
represent. Let's
Right.
meet them.
But like when you don't know them in person, like people have a hard time knowing where that line is. And a lot of people come
Sure.
from different places. If you went from a comedy show to your Everybody Hates Chris show, like it's a different set because there's kids and there's things and like.
Oh yeah, from the late night show to
Oh,
from the Chris
yeah,
Rock
and
show
it's
to
like
the
a
Everybody's
shift,
Chris.
of
Holy
course.
crap! Yeah.
Yeah, so working with the same talent that has both of those spectrums of audience, like that's hard. And so I think people in real life experience that more now because they're used to their people on Instagram. And a bunch of comedians have talked about it, and people like have talked about it regularly. Of like they struggle with like how do you maintain a friendship with someone who's gone off the rails on Facebook or who only wants to live
When
in a
you say
bubble.
it, I'm a.
Did I get off?
No, I think you're
no,
good. We're just-
you are.
just clarification.
Yeah, just clarification. When you say, there are a lot of people talking about it being.
About people
their
be-
discomfort in dealing with people.
Yeah, in that,
Everyone's
and that's
stressed out.
interesting because everything is, everything
any
is
way.
by pictures. Instagram is all visual, and then you've got the Facebook where people can
Mix of both.
mix of both
with no limit.
with no limit, and then you got Twitter where you are limited.
You used
You
to
have
be.
to-
Now you have double the limit.
Yeah, double the limit.
So it's just like everything else.
And so it is an interesting because I think we're finding things out about people via those outlets. And then if you do come in contact, like real contact, it's like, oh, wait, how I'm not quite sure how to like interact with you, which is weird.
Thank you for knowing what I mean, though. But that's, I think, what people are struggling with that I see most often.
Yeah.
Of us or just in general? People in general?
I guess I see it most with us because it's
'Cause
so
we're
different
us.
that we're not as in touch with people in person as I think I certainly used to be.
There's the element of internet famous too, where like you're not famous in the world. You can go to the grocery store, but meanwhile, if whatever your little group is that you're into,
Right.
like but everyone knows you in that group. Not that everyone loves you and you're famous like that, but there's an awareness that we don't have when we just go to Ralph's. Is that kind of what you mean too? So
Yeah.
it's like internet,
because
internet famous is a funny
is
thing.
yeah, that is a very interesting thing.
And now people are, you can make a hell of a living at being internet. I mean, internet famous is the new famous, I guess.
Yeah.
When you're really, really famous. It's crazy.
Influencers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, influencers.
I read an article that's even passe.
I think
Really?
I think that's
that
like
past?
not even a word now anymore.
So what is it now? What's the new hip shit?
I don't know.
I don't think they can figure it out. I really think there's like my old world must be spinning right now. Like, how do you talk to anyone to get them to hear you at all?
Oh wow, yeah, that's
'cause
true.
Press department used to be a megaphone, and now you can't hear
Now
shit out
you
there because
can't.
everybody in the world has a megaphone. We can
And then you
literally
you've got
broadcast.
people telling you shit, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how to keep tabs. Not even keep tabs, but do the job of
Well, the access has changed as well. So
Right.
the megaphone, I mean, we have the ability to, it's not broadcasting anymore, but we have the ability to go out live to the world if we want to right now, everywhere. Now, not that anybody is tuning into that, but the accessibility, like we're reaching
you
however
can
many
do it.
households.
Right.
We are on all the YouTubes.
crazy.
Anyone who has a YouTube,
YouTubes,
we're on
we're
it. You know
on
what I
them.
mean? So it's a weird, the accessibility, you can get to the world so much easier, but meanwhile, everyone can. So there's so much noise.
yeah.
I don't mean noise like it's not good content. I just mean there's a lot and you can't weed through it all. So maybe that's part of why everyone's freaking out. There's just so much goddamn
I
stimulation
think it's part of why
these
people
days.
are freaking out, but people also like don't want. People are finding out now what they like and what they don't like, and they have the capability to be like, I don't want to see that, so unfriend that, whatever. Like, I want to live in a bubble, like delete. Like, I have a friend that's like, I like happy dog pictures, like that's all I want to see. So I follow people that post happy dog pictures, and like, that's her social media. Like, okay, but like, I don't know what to talk to you about because I don't have a dog, and I like.
You could borrow mine.
No, I love you, but like I don't
kidding.
like. If someone posted on social the other day, like, oh, it's of course you like dog. I don't really like. I'm not. I get the wanting to be happy all the time, but I don't find that to be responsible. So I have a harder time putting myself in that bubble of like, I don't have to read anything bad. Like,
I think it's important to try to be happy all the time. I think that if you're trying to do it by surrounding yourself in a bubble of the exact same shit, then maybe that's not the way to do it. Is that what you're saying?
thank you. That's
Okay, because I think
exactly
that
what I'm saying.
trying to be happy every day is one of the most important things I ever learned. You know what I mean? From my life. So
I think
you know what I
it's
mean?
wholly important. I must have been smoking.
No. I just wanted to be clear so that we weren't saying like, I think being happy all the time is retarded.
No, I
First of all,
literally
you can't say retarded. So
No.
bad on you.
Take that back.
watched this.
No, but the fact that there are sites that are just dedicated to pictures of fluffy kitties or cute puppies,
I have no
or
problem with that.
by the way, I just started
great.
on following an Instagram that's called Boot My Nose, and it's pictures of dogs' noses, and it's funny as fuck, and I love it, and it makes me smile.
I have.
So
we have
if
those.
they have that little moment of like, then great.
There's Rudy the three-legged reindeer, and I follow Beth O with her North Shore Animal League kitty cats that they're finding new homes for these one-eyed cats left and right, and it's just, that's the stuff that makes me happy.
Yeah.
So I mean, we all do that. I think it's a matter of
that balance.
I
I think I'm a little dark today, which is why I was sensitive earlier. Like I think
that's okay.
I guess I
How are you feeling? Let's talk about
how
that.
are you?
Because sometimes physical stuff you don't realize it. and
I'm
it
in a
comes out
lot of
otherwise.
pain
There you
today. Very tired. I haven't been sleeping well, but I'm trying really hard to harness my time awake. Like if you have insomnia, like our job, it sounds crazy, but like I can work at 3 a.m. from bed, so I do. But I'm,
Yeah, I'm busted.
busted.
It is hump day.
Is that an invitation? What's happening?
I don't know. I've always thought
You
of
want to relax?
little stress reliever. I just always thought of Wednesday as being like the middle of the week, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling depleted and tired, and then you crest
you're
it,
talking
and
about
then
regular people. Sure,
Yeah,
100% for regular
I-
people. But when you have to monitor your
Right.
all of that stuff by the minute and not by the week, it's a
Very
different.
different.
It's a different lifetime because just the scale is different.
And we work every day, like when we're out and stuff. Like, and I appreciate that part. Like, I like that part. So it's like I look at just being present as a job now. So like talking and like having my thoughts together takes fucking work. Like,
Don't beat yourself up about it, please.
well, I really hate coming on here and being like, "Bleh," and like having nothing to, like freezing up like that.
Don't you find that that's all part of it? Yesterday we did. Sorry, seems
It's
to.
okay.
Oh, okay. No, we're still going, but the monitor stopped, so that was weird. But it seems to still be going. Yesterday you made mention of like we kept trying to start, and I kept being like, oh no, that's not right. That's stupid. I sound stupid. Whatever. And you were like, yeah, but that's the whole point. Wasn't that your goal, Mr. Authenticity guy? And so I feel like this is how you are.
being a little hypocritical. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to beat you up by that, but I mean, so what? It's not perfect.
Well,
so
show
what?
all sides. I mean, we don't always have
Yeah.
to be like.
I'm fine with that. I
on
just
and-
like to show all sides. I feel bad. Part of why I feel bad is when I affect other people, which is him.
Oh, don't you can't. You're right, but that's not. You
I
can't
saw
put
your
that
face
pressure
when I
on yourself.
froze, and it was like, oh, fuck.
No, see, this is where you misread me, or I wasn't clear. My face was. We literally started talking about the thing that I was like, we weren't sure if we should talk about it all, and you got up and left in the moment we started. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I thought she was
okay
supposed
to
to
talk
police
about it.
us.
Yeah.
Wasn't she the one who was supposed to police us? So then we went off topic, and you came back, and you're like, this is terrible. So I'm like, well, yeah, but weren't you supposed to be the one who was policing it? So that's all my face was. Forgive me. It wasn't. No, nothing
totally
else was intended.
Fair, and I guess I just like, to me, my job is common sense. So I used to get really mad when people didn't use common sense, and I'm not good at common. I have zero.
I was like,
I can't tell whose
so
point you're making right now.
right? Like, okay.
I'm showing the authenticity of how I beat myself up because I fight both sides like Fight Club, and I'm like,
Inside.
yeah. I don't.
We
look
did
like
come
a-
up with that the other day. I mean, I think we should. I mean, we're over an hour already, so we should probably think about wrapping it up for God's sake.
So we should
But
stop and maybe do another one.
I would like
part
to.
two. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, do you want to do that? I was in the
Take a
middle of
little
making
breaky?
a point, but if you want to stop, we can.
No, I want to just go with the. I'm sorry. Now I hate this episode.
This is my favorite one
Oh,
because
this
this
is
is
great.
so real. I hope you see I'm smiling. I love the hell out of you. Please don't take this so seriously. All right.
That's so funny too, because before we even started, one of the conversations we had, well, first of all, one of the is wait, we have to save it. We have to save it for when we're on the pod, because we have a tendency to get stuck in the kitchen and start talking and making our coffee.
When we were practicing, that was our move.
And one of the things that we talked about right before starting was, oh my gosh, I'm loving where this is going in the space of it just being real and honest, and the genuine and authenticity of, you guys might think we're rambling, and it's okay, because that's how we talk. And that's what I mean by not having it so
Regimented.
yeah. Or, I mean, it's not or could ever be scripted, but to talk about our talking points before we even sit down, it's not happening. It's
not how real conversation happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to have a couple things of, all right, I want to talk about how we
Right,
met,
right.
or, I want to talk about this or that, but tell us about when you were in the jacuzzi. Was that in Bahamas? Where was that? Did that happen? Was there a hurricane? What did I hear? That to me is
Virgin Islands.
there we
Yeah,
go. Perfect.
that's another story. No, I'm kidding. I do want to have a selfish moment, because
Yeah.
maybe it's like a self-importance that's being misguided.
Good.
But no, I want to finish telling a little bit of not even a little bit. I want to finish telling the story.
Good.
And that is going back and being given a copy of the book, and
By the person
saying
you're
by the
working
person
with.
that I'm working with, and that, because I want to talk.
Yes.
Anyway,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to go.
Go ahead.
So I said that I want to give him a copy, but I was nervous, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing he said the next morning when we saw each other was, "Did you chicken out?" He's like, "Morning, did you chicken out?" And I'm like,
Look at that. See, he knew exactly what he was doing. And did you?
No.
Good.
And I said, "No, I did not. It's in my bag. And, I was going to give it to you at the end of the day." And he's like, "You don't have to wait until the end of the day." But it was in my trunk. But I have these, they're not business cards, but it's a little card that has the information and where to find it and blah, 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 blah. And it does show the cover of the book. And I handed them the card, and I said, "But this is what the cover looks like."
Right.
And silent. And he said, "Well, that's an arresting image."
Yeah.
And immediately I felt just completely bare.
It's
and
a
nervous.
cartoon. It's a. Can we tell people what it is?
Yeah, it's right up there.
What? I
But-
don't have a camera crew. Hal, you want to get a shot of that? Can we get a close up of this, Hal?
Anyway, there was the silence, and there was that moment of like, oh shit.
Nah.
And
You had the walking out. That's the walking out on stage moment.
Yeah,
They
maybe that
see
was
me.
it.
They
That
haven't
was
heard
it.
me
They
yet.
haven't heard me yet.
You're walking out on stage, so you've
Feeling
got the
super vulnerable.
Yep.
And so in the dressing room, when we got out, I gave it to him. He put it in his bag, and I came into his dressing room later, throughout the day, and I saw it sitting on the counter, and I was like, oh, okay. And people are coming in and out, and they're seeing it.
The other thing is, I read it in
And-
about 15 minutes. It's not like the long. That's an exaggeration, but it's not.
It's
a
26
novel.
pages.
It's not a novel.
No,
right.
it's not. It's the ABCs. There are
Right.
26 letters in the alphabet.
Right.
But I've also been told that it's not an easy read, and some people are still on the letter J. J.
It's a soft J. I'm yay, of course. 'Cause
Yay.
Soft J.
Anyway, it was sitting on the counter, and then I had that moment of like, oh my gosh, people are seeing it, and it has my name on there, and
It must have felt vulnerable, right?
completely and exposed, and just like, oh my gosh, what are people gonna think? And da 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 da, and then we had like another break, and we're walking from his dressing room to to the set, and he says, "I read your book." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And first of all, I'm thinking, well, you're working today. You
Yeah.
have to be
This is
here at like this
heavy.
emotional level, and you're, doing your job. And so that was the first kind of like wonderstruck of like, oh my gosh, you took the time
During
what you need to be doing and be present for, and takes a lot of your energy. And he said, "It's amazing you're standing here, and it's amazing that you're even." He didn't say alive, but it's amazing you're here. And so we had a conversation.
the
and
person is very deep and a
Yes,
real spiritual
yes.
thinker, and this is a very solid, well-rounded, put together being.
Right.
This isn't
He's
somebody
he's
who
he's
was
a whole
just
person.
yeah.
And certainly is not colored by anything. Anyway, get back, and he said, "Do you have any questions?" We ended up talking about it, and just he said some very, very kind things. And going home that evening, I said, I just feel completely vulnerable and exposed, and sometimes it feels like I have a scarlet letter. And he said some other very thoughtful and kind things. And then I went home that night, and and that's what I'm saying. It was a great conversation, and I guess in a weird way, it was feeling not validated, but acknowledged and heard
By somebody you really
by
respect
somebody
too.
I
That's different.
really, really respect. And there wasn't that shame kind of feeling about it. If anything, it was when I got home that night and I had a complete breakdown and cried. And what
Was it a release?
it was,
Okay.
it was a release. It was a complete release. It was, and that's what I'm saying. It was like a release of like finally being able to tell a story and have it be acknowledged and not judged and not anything around it other than that happened, and
It feels like a reception versus a judgment.
I was going to say, yeah, the hug from Good Will Hunting is all I can think of. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, because
right
it
because
seems
it's
like
not.
that was your
Right.
reaction. You finally, not that that's the first time you've ever healed from something from when you were a child. But
It's an ongoing process, but
Right.
I don't know. It was just something very different about the reaction and the interaction, and the breakdown came from seeing how it physically affected him, and that was kind of the I saw somebody hurt because of my hurt, and that hurts. You know what I mean?
But doesn't that make you feel good too? Because
Yeah.
it's empathy. I mean,
Yeah.
putting himself in your shoes. That sounds to me what you were describing anyway, more of
I think
not
so. Now
feeling
that I can
sorry
step
for
away.
you.
No,
Not even that. It was more like
gosh, no,
you're
not at
standing here in
all.
front of me, and man, I've got respect for you, and we can talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can hang. You've earned your
That's
place
what
in
it
this
is.
place.
I-
You've earned your
that's what it
place in
is.
this
I
world.
was talking when we
Yeah,
first started
thank
going
you.
out.
For real.
I know. I've been trying to wrap my head around it. Anyway,
No,
It
that's
justifies
awesome.
your existence in the weirdest way, in my opinion. It would for me. I'm hoping that that's what happens for me. Sorry. No good?
I was talking.
All right, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I don't remember, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter. But I appreciate
That was a roller coaster.
It's been
We up,
Yeah.
up,
it's been
we're
an hour and 13 minutes here. for
pulling into
goodness
the
sake.
station.
Yeah, I mean, we could be. There's lots of stuff we could talk about, but I like the idea of doing it again, like she said. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff that we kind of that I wanted to talk about that we didn't, but there's so much other stuff we did that I didn't even think about. So I'm really excited and happy. And if you guys are in a good place, I just want her to be good, and I know you'll be fine.
It does feel like therapy
That's
on
what
some
we were
level.
saying.
Yeah.
it is therapy. I
So-
like it.
So there you go. Life therapy. The Life Therapy Podcast. Let's see. Tomorrow we have that Jonathan Hirsch, the medicinal marijuana expert guy, on.
Ooh.
So that'll be interesting because maybe this is all conversation. I mean, I'm not saying that one thing's related to the other, but I mean, it seems to
I'm
be.
looking
It's
forward
medicine.
to talk to him.
It's medicine for what you go through.
I know how it affects me. I'm working with it every day, so I learned how it affects me differently every day. So I'm excited to talk to him.
All right.
That'll be nice.
Well, I love you very much.
Thanks.
I love you too.
I love you very much.
I love you.
I'm excited about all of this. I really am. The
Me
fact
too.
that we're actually doing this is really cool to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just the beginning. There's so much more to talk about.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is the Life Podcast, and be back and stuff. But until then, yeah. What are you gonna do? Love everybody.